In a bold move set to ripple through Southeast Asia, the Philippines is gearing up to reveal a brand new official map, one that doesn't just redraw borders but sends a powerful signal to Beijing. This map takes aim at China's sweeping territorial claims in the South China Sea. Leading the charge is the country's National Security Council, guided by the 2016 PCA ruling, and the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Their goal to publish an updated map that reasserts Philippine maritime rights and challenges China's 10-dash line, which tries to wrap nearly the whole South China Sea under Beijing's influence. According to the Armed Forces of the Philippines, this updated map is more than a boundary, it's a foundation. It sets the stage for safeguarding marine life, protecting shipping lanes, and supporting national conservation efforts. AFP spokesperson Colonel Medal Aguilar says, "This map is bigger than cartography, it's about national identity and duty." Just as a quick reminder, these waters aren't random swirls on paper. They're the arteries of Philippine culture, commerce, and sovereignty. On another front, the Philippine Senate is also developing its own revised version, an official map that will clearly define territorial stakes. This includes the Calayan Island Group, Scarborough Shoal, Macclesfield Bank, the Benham Rise area, and the West Philippine Sea, waters falling within the country's 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone. Beyond that line, it goes back to being called the South China Sea. This will be the first government-issued maritime map update since the 2016 international ruling dismantled most of China's original 9-dash line, now expanded to 10. That ruling made it clear many of the Spratly Islands are legally part of the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. These waters belong to the Filipino people. But the story continues far beyond the western coastline. Out east, the United Nations approved Manila's request to extend its continental shelf beyond 200 nautical miles from Luzon Island, a massive undersea region. Spanning 13 million hectares, this underwater expanse, once known to sailors as Benham Rise, is now officially called the Philippine Rise. Yet, the tension hasn't eased. In August, Manila filed a strong diplomatic protest when China released an updated standard map that once again claims nearly the entire South China Sea with 10 bold dashes, this time forming a full U-shape. This controversial new version cuts into exclusive economic zones not only of the Philippines but also of Malaysia, Vietnam, Brunei, and Indonesia. Before it goes public, the updated Philippine map must pass through rigorous legal and strategic checks to make sure it aligns with international laws, especially UNCLOS and the 2016 arbitral decision. But officials insist it's a critical step, especially with countries like India and Taiwan also rejecting China's cartographic power play. So, why should anyone care? Well, because this isn't just some squabble over faraway reefs. This is actually about influence over one of the most important maritime routes on the planet, where, trillions of dollars in global trade flow every single year. Beneath the surface, there are key fishing zones, untapped oil and gas reserves, and, hidden territory that's really vital for defense. The Philippines' new map isn't just a passive document, it's really a declaration, a statement, a move on the global chessboard. And honestly, the world is paying close attention. So, this week, a fresh storm of protests erupted across Asia after China dropped a new version of its official map, boldly expanding its claims and drawing new lines of confrontation across land and sea. At the center of the backlash, you've got the 10-dash line. And a newly added dash east of Taiwan hints at ambitions that stretch even further. The response? Well, it was swift and fierce. At least 6 countries, including the Philippines, India, Vietnam, and Malaysia, have pushed back with strong objections. In India, fury flared as Beijing's map reached deep into its Himalayan frontier, rekindling long-standing tensions. Military analysts are also raising alarms over the possibility that China may be eyeing Japan's Ryukyu Islands, fueling anxiety in Tokyo. Back in 2016, the Philippines already drew its line in the sand. Manila stood up to China's 9-dash line at the Permanent Court of Arbitration and won. But in the wake of that decision, Beijing returned with a louder statement, adding a 10th dash and pushing claims even further. The day after China dropped its 2023 standard map, the Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs fired back, rejecting it outright and doubling down on national sovereignty. And the Philippines isn't stopping there. Behind the scenes, a new national map is in the works, one that may spark even more debate. Among its bold additions, there's the territory of Sabah, perched on the northern tip of Borneo Island. Even though Sabah is officially part of Malaysia today, the Philippines has long maintained a historical connection rooted in centuries of royal treaties and colonial transitions. To trace that claim, you'd have to travel all the way back to the 15th century when Sabah actually belonged to the Sultanate of Brunei. In 1658, after helping Brunei through a civil war, the Sultan of Sulu was, rewarded with control over the northern and eastern regions of Borneo. Then came the British. By the 1700s, foreign interests had arrived. In 1761, British officer Alexander Dalrymple brokered a deal with the Sultan of Sulu, opening the door to European presence. Later in 1878, another British agent, William Cowie, negotiated a lease agreement from the Sultan, placing control in private British hands. This led to the birth of the British North Borneo Chartered Company, which took over administration of the territory with the British Crown's support. By 1888, North Borneo became a British protectorate, but the company stayed in control until World War II. The Japanese seized it during their occupation from 1942 to 1945. After the war, Britain reclaimed it, transforming North Borneo, including Sabah, into a crown colony in 1946. Then in 1963 it was absorbed into a new country, Malaysia. But the Philippines never erased the claim. Today, as tensions in the region rise and China pushes its own maps, Manila is reminding the world that its own story isn't over. And Sabah could soon reappear on the official map. So, what's this really about? It goes far deeper than borders. These maps symbolize strategic waters, contested islands, cultural legacy, and questions about who gets to decide national identity. As China spreads its claims across the region, other countries are reaching for the pen too, ready to assert their own boundaries. The coming months could reshape the geopolitical map of Southeast Asia and the way the world understands the South China Sea. When the Philippines gained independence from the United States on July 4, 1946, it marked more than just the start of a nation. It opened a long chapter of territorial disputes that still cast shadows today. Not long after independence, 7 tiny islands near the northern coast of Borneo, known as the Turtle Islands, including Cagayan, Tawi-Tawi, and the Mangsi Islands, were turned over to the Philippines by British-controlled North Borneo. It was a clear-cut transfer, but not Sabah. Sabah, a much larger and resource-rich territory, stayed under British rule. That lasted until August 31, 1963, when North Borneo, now called Sabah, was granted self-rule by the British, clearing the path to join a new country called Malaysia. Between 1961 and 1963, as colonial powers retreated, the Cobbold Commission was launched to measure public sentiment in Sabah and Sarawak about joining Malaya and Singapore. The commission found general support, though it noted dissent as well. No formal vote was held in Sabah, unlike in Singapore where citizens had a direct say. Still, the merger moved forward. On August 1, 1962, the last British governor of North Borneo, William Good, signed the agreement for the territory to join Malaysia. The federation was supposed to be formed on August 31, 1963, but it hit a delay. Both Indonesia and the Philippines raised serious objections that led to the official creation of Malaysia being pushed to September 16, 1963. But things get even more tangled. A year earlier, on September 12, 1962, the heirs of the Sultan of Sulu, once rulers of a vast Muslim empire, signed over their rights, title and authority over Sabah to the Philippine government. This was under the administration of President Diosdado Macapagal, who used it to formalize Manila's claim. At the center of that argument is the 1878 agreement between the Sultan of Sulu and the British North Borneo Company. The Philippines argues it was a lease, not a sale, meaning sovereignty was never surrendered. Malaysia, on the other hand, sees the deal as permanent. In their view, Sabah's people made their choice in 1963, when they joined Malaysia. As far as Kuala Lumpur is concerned, the matter is closed. While Malaysia treats it as settled, the Philippines has never dropped the claim, and whenever regional tensions rise, so does this topic, like a tide brushing against old borders. This isn't just about long-lost papers or royal signatures. It's about how past empires and colonial deals still shape the region's politics. And as nations redraw their maps and assert control, Sabah remains a potent reminder that history doesn't quietly fade. It lingers. Let's rewind even further to the 1600s, a time when explorers were sketching the edges of the world and empires reached across oceans. One of the most significant early maps of the Philippines came from a Jesuit priest named Pedro Murillo Velard, published in Manila in 1734. This wasn't a typical map. It was the first scientific map of the Philippine archipelago, and it quickly earned a place in national history. Back then, the Philippines stood as a key stronghold of the Spanish Empire. The map didn't just outline islands, it charted sea routes connecting Manila with Spain, Mexico, then known as New Spain, and other corners of the Spanish colonial world. It served as a navigational guide, yes, but more than that, the Murillo-Velard map was a declaration, a bold expression of identity and geography. What makes this historic piece even more captivating are the details that frame it. 12 elaborate engravings, 6 on each side. 8 of them depict the rich diversity of the archipelago's ethnic groups. The remaining 4 detail snapshots of major islands and key cities. This map wasn't just a tool, it was a portrait of a nation, a glimpse into its people, its lands, and its soul. Fast forward to now, and those very waters Murillo once charted are back in the global spotlight. But this time, it's not about mapping new worlds, it's about defending what's being lost. The Philippines recently sounded the alarm, accusing China of wrecking coral reefs in the West Philippine Sea. The damage centers around Hasa-Hasa Shoal, a reef nestled in the contested South China Sea. Reports from the Philippine Western Command, or WESCOM, show large-scale coral harvesting near Rosul Reef, in a spot close to Palawan. The findings are grim. Entire ecosystems torn apart, reefs leveled, lifelines for marine life, fisheries, and coastal communities wiped away in silence. While the Department of Foreign Affairs didn't directly name China in its official response, the message was clear. The Philippines condemned the ongoing presence of foreign vessels carrying out destructive acts, violations that defy the 2016 Arbitral Tribunal ruling and threaten everything the waters represent. The United States didn't mince words. America's ambassador to the Philippines expressed strong concern over the destruction at Rosul Shoal, warning of growing environmental threats that are widely believed to be fueled by Beijing's aggressive maritime actions. Once a crossroads of culture, trade and exploration, the Philippine seas are now front lines, a clash not only for territory but for survival. As coral reefs vanish beneath the waves, the conflict becomes something more urgent. It's about defending a living heritage, a vibrant ecosystem, a future built around waters that sustain life, identity, and independence. For the Philippines, this is no longer just a boundary issue, it's a call to defend the very heartbeat of a nation.